Now, discipleship was not an unknown thing. I mean, Socrates' disciple was Plato, and Plato's disciple was Aristotle, and Alexander the Great was Aristotle's disciple. And they lived 450 years. That started 450 years before Jesus. Socrates was considered the founder of Western philosophy. And disciples were something that the Western philosophers had about them. And what they sought, generally speaking, was how one figures out how to live godlike, and seeking godlikeness. Now, of course, your definition of God may affect your godlikeness pursuits. For example, Epicurus wanted to make sure that all of his disciples understood that godlikeness was about fearing nothing. Do not fear life, do not fear pain, do not fear death. That is what it is to be a disciple of Epicurus. To be a Stoic was one who discovered what natural, rational nature was. To be in touch with your rational nature is what keeps life flowing and makes you discover your godlikeness. All of the schools of philosophy had ways in which the disciples were to discover how it is to live this life in godlikeness. Discipleship, however, for Jesus is something completely different. These beginning recruits have been invited to participate in Jesus' ministry. They have been invited to be part of it. Not just to follow along, but to be part of it. To be the ones who participate with him in the ministry, in the recruitment of people, in the fishing for people, in the casting of the net of the good news. Now I understand that when you fish and you're casting nets, you're catching fish and you're taking them out of water. And you're destroying them when you take them out of water. They become foodstuff. And I absolutely believe that Peter, James, and Andrew, and John were all fish out of water when they joined up with Jesus. They hadn't a clue what to expect. They had not a clue what was before them. All they knew was that today their lives were transformed. They had no idea what to expect in the future. What they knew was that they were in the company of this Jesus man, this incredible, compelling man who had a wonderful message of good news to share with all of humankind. And what he needed was disciples to help him share that good news. And the good news was God's grace. God's grace for all humankind. God's pardon and forgiveness for all humankind. He needed to recruit people to help him spread that message. When you and I made a decision to follow Jesus, to come after Jesus, we made the commitment and the decision to transform our lives. Perhaps not so immediately as Peter and Andrew and James and John. Perhaps you didn't drop everything. Perhaps you didn't leave your business. Your wife would have stood on Jesus' doorstep and said, "Please talk to him, would you?" However, And the day that you made your decision to follow Jesus, you made your decision to be a person transformed. And as John Wesley put it, you made your decision to be a person who lived by love. To be one who manifested in your life God's boundless love for humankind. That was the decision that you made. Our task as disciples of Jesus is to figure out in this day and age how to continue to manifest what that love looks like. How we will be those messengers of God's love. I had a professor say the other day, it is natural for all of us to make mistakes. It is natural for all of us to make mistakes. What is different about us is that in making the mistakes, we know that Jesus, we know that God is there to help us move beyond them, to become the people we are meant to be. Peter, Andrew, James, and John, as we follow these texts, will make countless mistakes. They will trip, stumble, and fall all along the way of their discipleship following Jesus. And we need to thank them for being willing to do that. It is a graceful invitation to say that being a disciple of Jesus is not about being perfect. It's not about being righteous. It's not about being worthy. Discipleship that Jesus offers is not a prize that is exclusively offered to those who are most worthy. The discipleship is offered to all of us. And all of us in our efforts in this life are working always to be those who are boundless love. Worthy. We are worthy. We are invited. You, like Peter, James, John, and Andrew, you may feel like you're fish out of water, but you're worthy